Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. It's your boy William Wolf. I'm here today. Don't know what happened yesterday. Done the same thing that I've done every single time. Started the podcast live, and for whatever reason, it wasn't live. It scheduled it, didn't actually start the stream. So me and my guest John, who I introduced just like this, defending champ. So we had his belt here on the other seat. He had his belt. He talked a little shit, and we dove right into the pod. Talked a lot about the diamond. Today I am literally just going to recap that a little bit just so I can get something out on the internet, get something out on the YouTube channel, get something out on the pod, for example, just because we really did 2.5 hours yesterday. That was absolutely brilliant. Tons of funny jokes that I'm not going to try to reenact. Everything is organic on this podcast. Everything's organic on this YouTube channel. I don't edit anything. I'm going live Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Obviously, I'm live today because yesterday it got screwed up. I'm gonna figure out a way where I can see the live chat on my phone because it's a distance away from me when I do the pod like this, so I can answer questions without getting up. I'm gonna grab my mouse here just right now, just so I can mess around with the monitor when I show you the monitor. So basically what we went through yesterday is the diamond. We talked a little bit about what happened last week. I played John, the defending champ, last week. His team name is the most unique team name in the league. It's called John's team right here. But we talked about that matchup. We talked about Justin Fields and Lamar, how we essentially both think that they're both going to bounce back. It was rough week ones for those guys. We went through the matchups. Myself and Automatic Pickens. One topic that was on hand was me starting. Was I going to start DeAndre Swift or Raheem Mostert? So in week one, I started Raheem Mostert over Swift because I didn't really know what was going to happen in that backfield in Philadelphia. They were on the road against Bill Belichick and New England Patriots. So I went with the safe play and started Raheem Mostert, and ended up being the sharp play because he scored a touchdown and he contributed to me winning, while the other hand, DeAndre Swift was essentially put the second string, and Gainwell was the starter for the Eagles against the Patriots. We all know, and we saw that Gainwell had a rib injury all week. So leading up until yesterday, he was finally ruled out, which opened up a big opportunity for DeAndre Swift. I wasn't sure if I was going to start DeAndre. On the pod yesterday live, we were live from about 5:40 p.m. till about 20 minutes till game time. I was kind of waiting for a release from the Eagles saying, hey, we're starting DeAndre Swift. And if I didn't get that release from the team or from the media, I was going to probably switch to Raheem Mostert because Raheem Mostert is just a safe play. He's on the road against New England and Bill Belichick. Ironically, it's like different. It's like flip-flop situations from what Swift or the Eagles were playing Bill Belichick on the road last week. Now Miami's playing them. So it's kind of just a coincidence that it's backwards, right? Which plays a factor in why I liked the Eagles backfield against Minnesota. And this isn't in hindsight. I said all this yesterday. I think Minnesota is bad defensively, and they are particularly weak against the run, which all played out yesterday, right? In the end, I never got that call from the media or Philadelphia that Swift was going to be the running back. So I was a little nervous about them possibly putting Penny as the one and then having Swift work in as the number two. Essentially the same thing they did week one, just subbing in Penny in for Gainwell in those roles. Because I was starting to think to myself, man, are the Eagles really just going to use Swift as their mix-in back, mix it up, number two running back, and keep him in that role regardless of who the one is? But no, I ended up taking the gamble and starting Swift simply because the talent is off the charts with DeAndre Swift, and because I playing automatic pickings, he has a strong team with Jalen Hurts, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Rashid, Austin Eckler, who is we don't know is going to play yet, Algier, who is strong right now as long as he's getting 50-50 carries, and then he picked up Gus Edwards in free agency this past week. He spent $50 on him to get that big flex now. So his team's complete with Gus Edwards. Essentially, his tight end's weak, but I said yesterday that I think Automatic Pickens has the best team in the league right now. Keyword right now, key 2 words. But with that being said, I was like, I talked myself into saying, I gotta roll the dice with DeAndre Swift because his ceiling is way higher than Raheem Mostert. And you didn't even see his ceiling today, guys. He scored 25 points, an immaculate fantasy football performance. Obviously, in some leagues, he would have had even more points than that because you get those bonus points for being over 100 yards, over 150 yards, etc. But he had a fantastic game. He got fucked over twice on the inch-yard line, or else he would have had 3 touchdowns and had 38 points or something like that. Instead, it went to Jalen Hurts, who I'm actually playing. So that was a really bad break. Until DeAndre got that touchdown late in the game, I was getting the shit end of the stick with DeAndre going down at the inch-yard line twice and Jalen Hurts getting 12 points off that with rushing touchdowns. But, Jalen is an exceptional quarterback. 28 points is kind of, to me, it's exactly what you pay for when you get a guy like Jalen Hurts. So Justin Fields just got to match that for me now against Tampa Bay. I think he will. That's the reason why I paid a lot of money for Justin Fields. I believe the Bears learned a valuable lesson last week that they need to open up that offense. They need to do more design runs for Justin Fields. And I mean really design runs. They need to do 8 or 9 design runs with Justin Fields. He's a big boy. He's not going to get hurt. You just got to run that guy. And I also talked about yesterday, Justin just got to get a little bit better at anticipation throws. He had 3 or 4 guys open last week on deep in routes and corner routes. And, it's tight, it's window throws, so you have to anticipate, but that's what NFL quarterbacks do, and I don't see any reason why Justin can't do that. We talked a lot about, quarterbacks and specifically Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson, how, Justin's starting to let me down from the perspective that he's not reading defenses. The best quarterbacks in the NFL, they come to the line of scrimmage and they make adjustments, right? They audible into plays that are, plays that can beat the defense. You can't just rely on the Chicago Bears organization and offensive coordinator to call plays for you and you go to the line, you call them no matter what. You have to recognize that sometimes you go to the line of scrimmage and the play that you called or the offensive coordinator called is not going to work. There was numerous occasions we threw screens that we shouldn't have. Lots of bad play calls for the Bears, and in what I expect from Justin Fields is in the future, especially as a third-year quarterback. And I don't put him in the same category as Lamar. That's the reason why I think Justin's better than Lamar. Because with Lamar, I don't expect that. I expect Lamar just to call whatever play the offensive coordinator gives him, and then he's just going to try to improvise. Now, I want Justin Fields to improvise instead of all these checkdowns that he's having. He checked the ball down 4 or 5 times last game. That's great. It's good. It's a good thing to do when you're a pocket quarterback like Kirk Cousins, for example. But when you're an elite talent like him, you have to either A, anticipate the throw and let it rip, or B, you need to improvise. You need to actually run. All that check down shit, unless the man's wide open in the flats, bro, don't fucking check the ball down. I know I'm talking to you like I'm actually talking to Justin, but hopefully somebody in that organization is talking to him the way I am as well. We want him to be a superstar, and I'm not going to go any further than that. I spent $50 on Puka Nacua because my wide receiver room was shaky, and that I was very excited about that going into week 2. Even if I only get 10 targets from him, that'd be phenomenal compared to what my wide receiver room is having to start. Bateman last week only got 30% of snaps. I picked up Nico Collins. He had 10 or 11 targets last week. I'm hoping he can duplicate that, but it's a gamble. I'm not really expecting anything out of that. I'm just hoping he can duplicate that target share that he's getting in Houston. They're a top 5 pace of offense so far in week 1. They're going to have a lot of negative game scripts and be down. So yeah, I think that Nico would be the play. Now, DeAndre Hopkins didn't practice all week, Monday to Friday, so I have to keep an eye on him. On Sunday, I'll make a decision. But I'm going to insert Sky Moore if DeAndre's out. I think Sky Moore is going to bounce back. I talked a lot about him on the podcast yesterday that didn't get aired, and essentially what I said is that he needs to earn my trust now. I still believe in Sky Moore. I still haven't given up on him, and I know I'm in the minority as far as even believing him in the first place. But as I said yesterday, this is a system. It's not all about the individual's talent. It's about the system that the player is in. And he's in a great position right now to have a big year. He's in a great position he had the number 1 amount of snaps and routes run last week for the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe Mahomes is going to be looking for him a lot more. I also believe that Travis Kelce being on the field does nothing but help those guys. Because it changes the way the defense has to scheme up. When they have to worry about Travis Kelce and focus on Travis Kelce, it changes the whole defense. Trust me, the Lions wouldn't have played defense the way they were if they had to worry about Travis Kelce. Trust me on that. So, yeah, if I have to start Sky Moore, it is what it is. But I more or less want to him to prove me that he's a viable guy who I can just leave in there. And what I mean by that is targets. Targets are the most valuable stat for receivers. I don't think anything's changed. I know air yardage has come into value. Lots of different advanced analytics that you can find all over the internet that I truly do respect and look at when it comes to making decisions, drafting and or free agency pickups. But targets is still the number 1 stat for wide receivers. You need to pay attention to that. Guy like Puka who got 15 targets, it doesn't matter what you think about it. It doesn't matter what you think about the talent. If a guy's getting that kind of volume, he's inevitably in a half point or a full point PPR league going to give you a really good floor. Then you're just a touchdown away from having a huge week. Even 10 receptions, 70 yards is a phenomenal day from a receiver. Receivers have too many variables when it comes to like them getting the ball. So targets is enormous. It's like a running back who you know is going to get 20 plus carries, right? That's the way I would view a receiver who's getting 10 plus targets a game. They're very rare that those guys, I mean, there's about 10 of them in the NFL right now. You got, Stephon Diggs who gets a ton of targets. He gets stared down by Josh Allen. You can guarantee yourself you're going to get production out of Stephon Diggs every week. Same thing goes for Cooper Kupp when he was healthy. Hopefully Puka's taking that role. And then there's only like a few more guys, Justin Jefferson, obviously, but there's only a few more guys that the quarterback truly locks in on them. The rest of them are game script oriented, and a lot of sometimes, like, look at, for example, A.J. Brown yesterday, he didn't get the ball. And one thing that really bothers me is when receivers act the way A.J. Brown did yesterday. They were up 2 scores running the ball, and I saw him bitching at Jalen Hurts about getting the ball. That would irritate me beyond belief if I'm in the Philadelphia organization. And if I was Jalen Hurts, I would have shut that down immediately. You can't know what he was telling AJ Brown, but I hope he was telling him, shut the fuck up. We're winning, bro. They can't stop the fucking run. Just fucking run your routes and shut the fuck up. Like, that's what I would tell him if I was Jalen. And I kind of hope that's what he did tell him, because if you're in the Philadelphia organization, you love AJ Brown, you know what he brings to the table, but not every week's going to be your week, dog. Like, that's the way receivers are, man. Receivers, sometimes they're just a distraction. They're like somebody that, is taking coverage away from the other things you want to do, like run the ball. The Vikings were sending a 3-man rush. Their box was weak all night. So the Eagles could quite literally run the ball on them every fucking time. And that's the way good offenses succeed, is they take what the defense is giving them. They don't try to just force their scheme on the defense, because these NFL teams, they're going to come up with strategies on how to stop you if you're not able to adapt. And that's something that Bill Belichick and the Patriots have always been great at. They're able to change what their offense is based on what the defense is doing and not vice versa. We don't teams that are just go out there with their offensive scheme and it's like stop it or don't. Those are the teams that lose. You have to be adaptable. There's going to be games you run the ball 35 times like the Eagles did, and then there's going to be games that they're going to be trying to put pressure on them. And what happens? Devontae Smith goes up top just like he did, touchdown. So yeah, went on a little tangent there, but that happened a lot yesterday as well. In this game, I actually picked, and it's funny because the picks are still here. So I picked automatic Pickens over me. I said my path to victory would be Justin Fields putting up a 40 burger. And with the big game from DeAndre Swift, who I was expecting a decent game, that's why I started him, hoping for the high ceiling. But he outperformed even what I was anticipating and hoping for. So that really helped me. Now I'm more towards a coin flip with fantasy, with automatic Pickens. So that'll be nice going into Sunday. In the second matchup, I picked Bishop Sycamore, a.k.a. Young Kicker, over SEC mids. And I made a strong emphasis to say that this team is mid as fuck, as the team's name is described. You got none of these players on this team couldn't put up a game like DeAndre Swift did. Not one single one. Not currently. Now, fast forward to week 9, Breece Hall and Gibbs, they might be, at that point in time, unleashed and given an opportunity to run the ball more than 15 times. But I'd say for the next 6 or 7 weeks, Gibbs or Breece Hall are never going to get the ball more than 10 or 11 times. I'd say max 15, but that's being super generous. They're going to probably get 10 carries. Gibbs, he has a bigger opportunity of getting pass receptions. But I'd say, he's a very, at the moment, mid fucking running back. And I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I did a video on him on how he could be a league winner this year. But with the way they use David Montgomery in week 1, unless they drastically change that, David's their goal line runner and their primary back. And Gibbs is the guy who's going to work in. And as talented as he is, this team is very fucking mid. You got Dallas Goedert in a huge offense, but there's way too many mouths to feed. He'll have a big week here and there, but for the most part, you're going to expect a 5-point performance most of the time. There's too many people to throw the ball to there, and then they have a great offensive line that they could run. So this Breece Hall, we saw what he can do, but you kind of just saw like a ceiling from him last week, a ceiling for the next 8 weeks. And what did he have? 15 points? That's his ceiling. Like, you're not going to get much better than that. He's going to get the same amount of opportunities in this coming week. And will you think he's going to break another 80-yard run? I mean, those happen maybe once or twice a year. So that guy was sitting on the bench for SEC mids. Now, he's chasing points, putting him in his lineup. Quite frankly, he doesn't have a choice because Dobbins got hurt. But I don't think this team is going to be good this year. And I think Trevor Lawrence is the bright spot on this team. I think Trevor Lawrence actually can carry this team a little bit. But he's got to get decent performances out of everybody every week here to get a score higher than 110. He's going to have trouble scoring over 110 because he's not going to have any guy that just blows up. So essentially, the only way he can have a big week is if everybody gets a touchdown. Debo gets a touchdown. DK gets a touchdown. Chris Godwin gets a touchdown. Now, these guys are all good players, man. They're mids. You know what I mean? There's just nobody that, like, let's go through this real quick. DK, probably a 3rd or 4th round pick in Snake. Early 3rd. I'm just taking a guess here. Debo, somewhere in the 3rd. Trevor Lawrence, somewhere in the 4th or 5th. 5th or 6th, I should say. Gibbs was like a 3rd round pick. Godwin was like a 5th round pick. Breece Hall was like a 6th round pick. Goddard, 6th round pick. You see what I'm saying here right now? He has no 1st or 2nd round picks. This is the definition of mids. And he thinks he's cute by making this name 1-800-SEC mids to try to mock people that are saying that his team is mid as fuck. But the truth of the matter is he's going to be losing again this week. I got Bishops, a.k.a. Kicker, to win. And I'm not impressed by Kicker's team either. But when you got Christian McCaffrey, Bijan, And if Tua slings again, Dobbs should be getting all the looks this week again, even though he only played like 30% of snaps last week. Hopefully he plays more snaps for young kicker this week. I hate the stack with Musgrove as the tight end in Green Bay. I hate Najee Harris. He's a bum. But what is he? He's starting Pickens on this side. Pickens is, I mean, we know that Deontay Johnson's hurt, so Pickens in theory should be getting more reps and more looks and more targets. But that means Ward is for Cleveland is going to be on Pickens. He's going to lock Pickens up. I hate Pickett, Kenny Pickett speaking. Not a good start for SEC mids. I got kicker. That's already been picked, as you could see. By the way, John picked in my league. He picked on automatic Pickens, and I believe he picked high 1-800 SEC mids in the other one. John, in this one, I remember this for sure. He picked the Criminals. I picked Comeback Kid. I picked Comeback Kid because I believe that him starting Kirk Cousins against Philadelphia was a huge mistake. I also made a joke that, well, he doesn't really have a choice because it's either him or his other quarterback, Sam Howell. So I obviously Kirk Cousins had a huge game. A lot of it was garbage time. He had the late touchdown to Hockenson. He also had another touchdown throw deep to Addison. I believe he threw at least two of those touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and like when Philadelphia was essentially playing like bend but don't break kind of defense. And before I go any deeper here, guys, I'm gonna look to make sure I'm live. I'm not going to make this mistake again. Yeah, it shows I'm live. So, not going to make that mistake again. But basically what I was saying is that Kirk Cousins against the Philadelphia defense on the road on prime time is not a good look. He ended up having a huge game, 32 points. So I think with that kind of performance, the Criminals is probably going to pull this victory out at now. Obviously, Devontae Smith had a huge game for Comeback Kid, but I kind of predicted that. I said yesterday that their receivers are very close. I think they both have great receiving cores, so those kind of are a wash. I like Joe Burrow over Kirk, but Kirk had a huge game, so that kind of is debunked now. Running back situation and flex situation is very, very close and equal. This is a great matchup, guys. Kittle and Waller is a great matchup as well, especially because Kelly's probably going to get the RB1 role with Eckler out. I don't think Eckler is going to play. So, yeah, I picked Comeback Kid. John picked the Criminals. We'll see how that plays out. Kirk Cousins obviously did much better than anticipated. Moving on to you Kyrene, bitch. Another stupid name by Lee. He's notorious for just making absolutely ridiculous, shitty names. I don't understand that one either. I assume it's some kind of play on how he picked up Kyrene Williams. But I don't really understand the name. I don't think it's a good name either. It's not clever. I don't understand it. I guess he just wanted to call us a bitch. So good for him. I had nothing but negative things to say about his team yesterday because Justin Jefferson, Madison, and Hockenson, starting all three of those guys against the Eagles on the road in a triple stack, which is something he's going to have to do all year, is no bueno. His ceiling is down tremendously when you're starting three guys on the same team, especially a team in Minnesota that I'm not a fan of. And when I say I'm not a fan of them, I don't mean like literally a fan in the NFL. I'm just saying like I don't think they're a good fantasy football team this year. I don't think they're a good NFL team this year. I think they're going to regress. They're 0-2 already. I see that continuing on. If they're going to pile up garbage points, then that's something you can't predict. But Justin Jefferson, you expect him to have a game like this all the time. When he plays against a good corner, obviously the kid for Philadelphia last night, I don't know why his name's not popping up. in my mind. Their starting elite corner who locked up Justin Jefferson last year. He struggled against him yesterday. So, but you expect that out of Justin. He's still gonna have down games though. Bree, stop. And then Madison is fucking terrible. And Hawkinson, he was saved yesterday by getting 2 touchdowns. With that being said, he's had 2 good weeks in a row. Hawkinson has. So this might be no, he only had 7 points. So it was kind of a lucky week this week for Hawkinson. Like I said, this is really good for this guy. You know, a 22, a 3, and a 19. That's about as good as you can expect on a triple stack on a team where you have a receiver, a running back, and a tight end. So that's great for him. I picked John's team yesterday. I think that it could be it looks like Lee's team's a favorite now because the performances that he had out of TJ Hawkinson. But, you know, that's kind of I still think that's a victory here, even though with 3 points from Madison. Just the fact that he got 22 out of Hawkinson, that's kind of obviously you're doing the math there. You know, that's like a 10 and 12, which is, I would say that's good out of those 2 guys with a 19 out of Justin. So he got more production than I would expect out of those 3 guys. If you did the math, Yahoo doesn't account for them being on the same team on your fantasy football team, so it brings it down. But because they evaluate them individually. With that being said, I expect a bounce back game from Lamar. I think Kyle Pitts can have a good game. He graded well on PFF if they actually give him the ball. I believe that he still bounces back here. I don't know the situation with James Conner, but Lee's the favorite now. We both picked John yesterday. And the last matchup, I am nice. It looks like Travis Kelce's going to play. He started Scott as his RB2. This guy has literally no running back depth at all. He has Gainwell, which he was lucky Gainwell got the start week 1. I highly doubt Philadelphia gives him the start again. I think he'll be more as a working back now at this point with Scott. I don't see any way possible that they go away from Swift now. Swift was incredible yesterday. He's exactly who I thought he was. I did numerous videos on DeAndre Swift. I did video about him being the most underrated back in the NFL for fantasy football, along with undervalued, I should say, along with James Cook, who I also have on my team, and a few other guys. Yesterday I picked Physics Dream Team, and John picked Physics Dream Team as well. We picked them mostly because we thought, the running back situation here was dreadful. I think that Ramondre is going to bounce back. I think Travis Kelce will have a big game. I think Kadarius Toney will have actually a bounce back game. We don't know what's going to happen with Puka. They're saying he might not play, so Tutu could be in store for a big game. I like the stack of Watson and Cooper against Pittsburgh this weekend, but the problem is I just think Mahomes is going to have a monster game this week. And what we said is, in this situation, Toney and Travis Kelce are usually blockers for Mahomes, right? But the problem is that the way he built his team, Travis Kelce, he needs to have a huge game to win, right? Every week he does. And when Travis Kelce has a big game against Physics Dream Team, it gets washed out by Pat Mahomes. So I think that typically that it's an advantage if you have the receivers and the running back, or the receivers to go against Pat Mahomes. But the way his team was built, it's the opposite. I think that you're washing out points with Pat Mahomes, and then it's essentially the rest of his team versus the rest of his team. And I think that Derrick Henry's probably going to have a big game against the Chargers. The Chargers can't stop the run. And it could go either way, but we both picked him in that. Now, we did a segment yesterday that was really fun with my boy E. He came on, and I broke some news about Las Vegas. I'm not sure if everybody out there is aware, but all of MGM shut down right now. They're operating as if they're in the 1930s right now. They have no computers. They're held ransom by a hacking company out of Russia. I didn't know this until yesterday, but it's pretty crazy, bizarre news. I got to figure out a way to get my chat on my phone, by the way. I plan to do that soon. Would I trade Jonathan Taylor and Addison for Nick Chubb? Is that if that's the question? Yeah, I wouldn't even hesitate about that, sir. I would do that. I would make that trade in a heartbeat, and I would laugh at the guy. I'd go, that's what I would do. I would laugh at him. Jonathan Taylor and Addison for Nick Chubb? What the fuck? Boy, you better accept that damn trade so fast. We did a segment with Eric. He came on, he told us a lot of stuff that I didn't know. He already knew about it. Caesars, all of their casinos, they were held on the same ransom, but they paid the $20 million right away to this foreign hacking group that's hacked Las Vegas. I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but it's fucking bizarre, man. So you essentially are going there now to the MGM, and you have to check in manually. Everything's by hand. It's just a weird situation now. They're completely shut down. If you just look into it, Google Las Vegas. Like I said, Caesars, they paid $20 million to end the ransom. We talked a lot about that, and I don't know what the end result there is, because even if you pay these people to fix what you fixed, or to end the problem, who's to say they aren't going to do it again? That's what I hate about hacking or when people try to hold people for ransom and stuff like that, especially in a hacking situation. Who's to say that if you pay the money to stop it, that they're not going to do it again? So it's a tough situation for Las Vegas. MGM hasn't paid the $20 million yet, so they're operating. All their casinos are operating as if they're in the 1930s. It's kind of crazy. With that being said, he gave us a really amazing statistic on the under yesterday, like an amazing record on the under, and it ended up being wrong. The game went over, but it was looking like an under game most of the game. Yeah, the under didn't go through. It was the over. John and Eric, they both picked the Vikings +6 yesterday. I was very, 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 very adamant about taking Philadelphia -6 yesterday. Ended up being a push, but you wanted to be on Philadelphia's side yesterday. It was very unlucky that they didn't cover. It was very unlucky they didn't cover all the teasers. They were blowing them out, and they let them come back late. Like I said earlier, Kirk Cousins had a bunch of garbage time. I think Shane, he can have fake bravado in the chat all he wants about Minnesota and Kirk Cousins specifically, but they're going to struggle all year, in my opinion. I believe that, Philadelphia, they were the pick yesterday. So I'm 1-0 on Thursday picks, and I have a push in the books now. So 1-0-1. And Sunday we will have the sharp pick of the week. Last week it was the Cleveland Browns, and I said load up on that one. I was absolutely right. I'm 1-0 there. I will be giving another pick on Sunday. That is I'm gonna get my dog out of here. So 1-0 there. By the way, when we had Eric pop in, we hit a really good talk with E. Obviously you're not going to see any of that. We brought back John. We went on a bunch of tangents about the NFL. We got into a marijuana tangent somehow when Josh Gordon was brought up. We spoke about our thoughts about why we think that it is absolutely absurd that it's not legal in the NFL, and we went on to all of our theories and history on why it is illegal in the NFL, and about why PEDs are pushed on these NFL players and how bad that is. And just, I made a claim that I think the NFL and pharmaceutical companies are in bed, but that was just another tangent. Like I said, we're not going to try to duplicate and or replicate anything that was talked about yesterday. It's lost in history. It's lost in the moment. Nobody will ever see it, unfortunately, because it was not recorded. as I said, I don't know what happened because it's so. I've done this multiple times now, and I could see that it says streaming. I just don't understand what happened yesterday because I broadcasted it. But yeah, I've pretty much covered the majority as far as the teams are concerned. I think that Korea and who is what's his team name here? Yeah, it's Korea, and I think Automatic Pickens, who I'm playing this week. I think those are the best two teams in the league at the moment. I think if Kirk Cousins keeps putting up big games for the Criminals, he's got a pretty solid team. I think that Garrett Wilson is a mid receiver at this point. I think, what helped me last year with Garrett Wilson was having White as the quarterback. Well, when you have Zach Wilson as the quarterback, I think your value goes down tremendously. I think they're just going to play really big defensive battles in New York. So, yeah, that's down. I think DJ Moore will bounce back this week. I like his running backs a lot. Waller, Montgomery, Etienne, and Walker. He's got a really good two running back. I always said that this team will go as far as Kirk Cousins and Waller takes them. So let's see what Waller has in store for us this week. We know Kirk Cousins had a big game. I think that if those two guys have decent seasons, and keyword is just decent seasons, yeah, he'll be a playoff team, and he'll be a team that you're going to have to deal with in the playoffs. I think Young Kicker's team, who's in first place right now, I think that he's going to regress a little bit this week. He had a lot of touchdowns. Dobbs only played 30% of snaps last week and had 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's very lucky. Michael Thomas, there was a lot of competition for targets there with the young fast Shaheed guy. So I mean, the thing about Michael is that he'll probably get a lot of games like this, and if that might be all Young Kicker needs out of him is just what was that 8 targets? I can't really see it from this distance, but. Michael Thomas, he thought I had it like this, but that's a rookie mistake as well. But Michael Thomas, yeah, I was saying that he had his targets here. I wasn't showing any of the stuff I wanted to show there, unfortunately. But I think that he's going to need another running back. So if Jeff Wilson comes back and could be like he was last year, this team will be tough to beat. If he doesn't, I think that this team's going to regress. Calvin Ridley's a stud. We know that. And Christian McCaffrey and Bijan are studs. Tua, I think he's going to go have a little bit of a roller coaster this year with him. But with that talent on offense, there's no reason he can't ball out all year. It's just, he's got to make some free agent pickups, I think, at some point. I think he missed out on trying to go after one of those Ravens running backs or even Kyrene, Lee's team's name, as far as trying to help out his flex here, because he's a Najee fan, but Najee's not it, man. He's just not. That offense sucks. And on top of that, Warren's just eating into his time. He's not a good running back. He's slow. He's big. He's just a poor man's Derrick Henry. I'm still a fan of Physics Dream Team's team with Pat Mahomes, A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, who was super undervalued this year. He got Miles Sanders for cheap. Derrick Henry, Javonte with Kamara coming back. I think even Jackson Smith will eventually evolve into a good fantasy option later in the year, as rookie receivers usually do. I think his team is definitely in the mix this year for sure. I am nice. I'm not trying to pick on this guy, but I just don't like this team at all. There's no running back depth. Can you imagine if Ramondre Stevenson just gets a hamstring injury and he's just hurt for a couple of weeks? How can this guy recover? There's no way he's going to win. St. Brown's a stud. Watson and Cooper, that's a decent stack, but they're not going to do anything. They're not going to, that's not like you're stacking. I don't know. I can't even think. Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I don't know about that stack. Kadarius is a complete mystery. He's in the same situation as Sky Moore right now. He's got to prove it. before he gets any credit from anybody. I just don't think that team's good. I'm not going to go any more detail about anything else. This was kind of just a recap of yesterday. We talked a lot about Thursday night football. We talked a lot about the Eagles in Minnesota. All that has come to fruition. Ended up being a push in the game. DeAndre Swift ended up having a huge game. The Vikings team, as far as fantasy was concerned, ended up all performing, which was something I didn't expect. And, we're looking forward to Sunday. I'll be live Sunday morning, hopefully at 11 a.m. Hopefully I'll have Mike, the cop here, who is Automatic Pickens, who I am playing this week here. So if he comes in the building, that'd be great. We're going to talk a lot about the matchups in Sunday again. We'll talk about our matchups specifically. Maybe a little trash talk will be done. And then, I'm going to give you my pick of the week Sunday. I'm also this week going to be able to give you my live $1,000 buy-in for DraftKings. I'm going to put that lineup in live for you on the computer. I'll make it in front of you with my thoughts while I'm doing it. So that'll be cool. Last week, like I said, Lamar Jackson was a huge letdown for my DraftKings team, my $1,000 team. So we'll throw another 1,000 at it every week. We'll see if we come out ahead. I think I will. I'm entering these 32 mans where it's like 20,000 for first. So I believe it's going to be fun. I hope everybody out there can learn and enjoy the diamond and see that, this high $2,000 buy-in league here is this league right here is very competitive. You get a chance to meet every single one of these guys in the league. You would have met John yesterday. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. He's a really smart, well-spoken, articulate man. So it would have been pretty cool, to hear him speak and talk about a lot of different topics. But it is what it is. We'll get him back on the podcast for sure. Automatic Picking Sunday. That'll do it, though, for today, y'all. Peace out, man. Until Sunday. Check me out Sunday, y'all.